Chris McClintock couldn't run. I mean, there's a bunch of guys out here really working hard, and I'm sure they're gonna take away the lead from us eventually.
So after the excitement of the touring cars, next up is the Gulf Radical Cup. The first race of the season is actually to be the 51st race since the championship started in the region in January 2006. This season there are no less than 20 cars registered to compete, contesting in 3 separate classes. Class A is the fastest group in the Gulf Radical Cup, and back for another season and hot favourite is Bassam Kromfli. He'll be undoubtedly going for gold after narrowly missing out on the championship title last year.
Last year was it was a tough season, good season, very challenging. Ended up losing the championship right at the end. You know, to good competitors, the guys from Bahrain are awesome guys to have fought against. But let's see if we can go one better this year.
So on to race 1 of the Gulf Radical Cup. And once again, the Dubai Autodrome providing all the glamour and spectacle that goes hand in hand with motorsport. So a quick look at the starting grid for race 1. And Bassam Kromfli is living up to his billing in pole position. Behind him, John Stanley and Cabell Fisher, both racing the SR8s, then a host of drivers competing in the Class C SR3s. It's a rolling start for the Radicals, and a good one for both John Stanley and Bassam Kromfli, both drivers in the SR8s. It wasn't such a good start though for young Emirati driver Sultan Al Maboubi, who found himself a long way behind the rest of the field heading into the first corner. Back at the front, and Bassam Kromfli was charging ahead, with John Stanley behind him in second place. And behind them in third place, Dave Moran in the SR3, followed by Kevern McShine in fourth. But disaster struck for Bassam Kromfli on lap 4 as he pulled off the track with a shredded rear tyre. It was the end of the race for him, and disappointment no doubt, racing for the first time in the new SR8. Kromfli's retirement handed the race lead to British driver John Stanley, who's no stranger to being in front, after recent podium finishes in the UK Cup and European Masters Series. Meanwhile, there was a duel further down the field with number 33, Carl Rolliston, battling it out with number 19, Rami Malhas, for 9th and 10th place. And at the front, the American Cabell Fisher in the distinctive red SR8 was nipping at the heels of race leader John Stanley. It was a good drive also for Kevern McShine, starting 9th on the grid. He managed to move up to 6th overall. But at the front, it was John Stanley with a faultless performance and a race win for him at the checkered flag. So, confirmation of the results for race 1 of the 2008-2009 Gulf Radical Cup. First place goes to John Stanley, just behind him Cabell Fisher in second. And a good drive from Fahad Al-Ghassabi to grab third. Disappointment, of course, for race favourite Bassam Kromfli, who was forced to retire with a shredded rear tyre. On to race 2 of the Gulf Radical Cup. And as the cars lined up on the grid, it was John Stanley in pole position, followed by Cabell Fisher in second. Race favourite Bassam Kromfli started at the back of the field after failing to finish in race 1. It's a rolling start for the Radicals, and a good one for John Stanley, who quickly accelerates away from the rest of the field and safely through the first turn at the end of the straight. It was a good start also for Saudi driver Fahad Al-Ghassabi, as he found himself amongst the leaders early in the race. But as the cars headed into the first corner of lap 3, it was Kromfli making waves by charging through the field into 4th place. Elsewhere, there was an interesting battle between the number 3 car of Kevern McShine and Khalid Al-Zaruni. Back at the front, it was John Stanley still in the lead, but Kromfli was now up to 3rd place and pressing Cabell Fisher in second. Meanwhile, it was a good race for Harvey Boulter, competing in the Invitational class. Harvey grabbed plenty of media attention on race day thanks to a bevy of gorgeous pit girls. But all the attention on the track was with Bassam Kromfli. He'd made it past Cabell Fisher and was now making moves on race leader John Stanley. Further down the field, and there was a good scrap going on for 7th place between Kevern McShine in the number 3 car and Khalid Al-Zaruni in the number 46 car. But there was only one winner, and it was Bassam Kromfli. as he lapped Sultan Al Baboubi to take the honours in race 2 of the Gulf Radical Cup. It was a fantastic drive by Cronfley, who worked his way from 17th place at the back of the starting grid to finish first. So a look at the results from race 2, and Bassam Cronfley making up for the disastrous race 1 and taking top spot. Just behind him, British driver John Stanley in second, and American Cabell Fisher in third. A good drive also for Harvey Boulter in the Invitational class, taking 4th place. But disappointment for Saudi Fahad Al Ghassabi, third in race 1, but only managing 5th in race 2. So a well-deserved win for Bassam Cronfley, but the events of race 1 showing just how easy things can take a turn for the worse for even the best drivers.
Well, as you know, first race was pretty exciting, a bit gifted to me by Baz, because Baz had an unexpected puncher, which put me out the front, and thoroughly enjoyed the race, and an unexpected win.
It was better than I expected. Came through, the guys were quite fair with me coming through, and yeah, about 8-9 laps in, found myself up front, which I was very pleased with, and sort of redeemed the crappy result of the first race. So let's hope it continues that way for the season.
Time for us to take a short break. But coming up, we've got action on 2 wheels as the UAE Sports Bike Championship gets underway. Welcome back. We're at the Dubai Autodrome in the United Arab Emirates for race day 1 of the 2008-2009 UAE National Race Day Series. And if 4 wheels doesn't do it for you, then the 2008-2009 UAE Sport Bike Championship promises to be one of the best local motorcycle racing seasons yet. In the new 1000cc class, Al Yusuf Yamaha are maximising their firepower by providing last year's champion Rod Scott with the ultra-quick Yamaha R1. Last season saw Scott embroiled in a thrilling duel with Saudi rider Abdulaziz Bakr, but in the end it was Scott who took the championship.
Well, obviously we had a big battle with Abdul from day one, and he would win one race and I would win the next, and he would set a fastest lap, and then I would set a fastest lap. It was really good.
A look at this season's UAE Sport Bike Championship wouldn't be complete without mentioning Saudi rider Abdulaziz Bakr. Liberty Kawasaki are pulling no punches this year, with Bakr competing on the ZX-10.
Last season we've done 600, so this is the first season that 1000cc's are introduced. So I think it's going to be quite a rush.
So on to race 1 of the 2008-2009 UAE Sports Bike Championship. And it was a packed starting grid as riders lined up for the start of an exciting season of racing. A look at the first 3 rows on the starting grid, and less than a second separated the top 3 positions during qualifying. Saudi rider Abdulaziz Bakr took pole with last year's champion Rod Scott in second. Third is Indian Jazar Motiwala. All 3 are competing in the new 1000cc category. And behind them, a host of riders competing in the 600cc stock and super stock bike classes. And it was Indian rider Jazar Motiwala who made a great start in race 1. He stormed to the front heading into the first corner. But disaster for the Yamaha rider Alan Rowlands on just lap 2 of the race, as he took a fall at the end of the main straight. Rowlands thankfully was unhurt, but the debris on the track proved a hazard for the rest of the field. Meanwhile, the gap was closing at the front between Motiwala, Rod Scott and Abdulaziz Bakr. Elsewhere, further down the field, there was an interesting battle between the number 11 Mahmoud Tanir and the number 90 Francesco Natal. Both riders competing in the stock bike category. But there was more controversy to come just over halfway through the race, as officials red flagged the event after another rider went to ground. And as the riders stopped at the start-finish line, this allowed track officials to collect Alan Rowland's bike and also clear the resulting debris from the track.